Hi, and welcome to this podcast with me, Geeta Joshi. I am a curator and art dealer and the producer for Camberwell Arts Open Studios. And today I'm here with my good friend and bon vivant, Sarah Hamilton, who is also the founder of Just a Card. Welcome, Sarah.
Hi, Geeta. Hi, everybody.
So I wanted us to talk about Just a Card, which I think is a really important campaign for artists and designer makers. So why don't you tell us what it is first?
Absolutely. Right. So I'm an artist and designer, and I have spent many years selling cards, homewares, gifts and prints. And I realised that very many of the small shops, independent shops that I've been working with had been closing, and I was getting really depressed about it. And I also realised that lots of the artists and designers that I was also exhibiting with were finding it harder and harder to sell their work. And it occurred to me one day, I was reading an article in the paper, and I read about a gallery owner who'd recently closed their gallery, and she'd written, "If everybody who'd complimented our beautiful gallery had bought just a card, we'd still be open." And I had a light bulb moment. I thought to myself, people just do not realise how incredibly important little tiny sales are. They really do add up. And I quite often am doing a show and people come up to me and they say, "I'm really sorry, I'm only buying a card, I'm not buying a print." And I always say, never apologise. It's incredibly generous of you to support us in any way you can.
No, I agree. I think, they're all compounded, aren't they, once people start buying cards, but they also, I find, it's a way of people buying a small item into your design aesthetic as well. Because actually, that often leads to bigger sales later on as well.
Absolutely. People have bought cards from me and then they've kept them on their notice board and they've rung me and said, "Oh, I've been thinking about buying a print for a year." And it's absolutely turned into a much bigger sale or a continued sale or a long-term customer. So it's so valuable and so important. And now the campaign's been going about 3 years now. I started it, as I say, and I basically started it on social media. I was tweeting the idea. I approached Patricia from the Design Trust. That was the first person I approached, and I told her about it. And she said, "Okay, that's a brilliant idea. I'll give you a little bit of money. Set up a basic website," which I did. And I started to tweet, and basically just tweet, not Instagram by that. And I did it for about a year, and loads of people saying, "Yeah, that's a really good idea." And suddenly, I just thought, I'm so overwhelmed with the amount of people that wanted to be part of this, and I'm so always having to respond and send press releases, etc. One day I just tweeted and said, "Does anybody want to help me?" And I didn't really expect anybody to even notice.
And how long ago was that? So how long had you been doing it when you thought, "Oh, actually, I need some help, or I need to get other people on board"?
It was about a year. It was about a year.
Wow. So. And so at that point, it was all still mostly social media led, and it was all Twitter led as well. Is that right?
Yeah. I hadn't really. I'm very late to the party on Instagram. It was all Twitter. Twitter was brilliant, and I was using Twitter loads for my own work, and it was really, really powerful. So yeah, it was absolutely Twitter. Actually, it wasn't even a Just a Card Twitter. It was my own personal Twitter.
Oh my goodness!
And then I set up a Just a Card Twitter, and that started to go bonkers.
Nice. So how many people do you have working with you on the campaign now?
So we now have 10. We do a range of things. We do a blog every Friday run by Kate Marsden, where we interview artists and designers. Then once a month we have a guest blogger, which is Kate Ferris, and she's a small business mentor and advisor, and she advises small businesses. Yeah. So she does that once a month. We also do a Twitter hour every Thursday, 8 till 9, which is fantastic, and we've run by Michael Fram, who's a gallery owner in Yorkshire, and it's very sociable and friendly, and it's absolutely filled with lots of design and creative people chatting.
And is the Twitter chat, what is that? I mean, is that when people are promoting their own work, or are they asking for business advice, or what?
It's much more. It's a bit of promoting your own work, but Michael very much slants it towards people, the community, people supporting each other, people talking about things that they're working on, just very, very much more sort of creative chat rather than just throwing in your work.
Sure. Oh, that sounds really good. And sorry, you were going to say you have somebody else working on your website as well.
Yeah, we also have we do a gift guide. Sarah Cowan is a graphic designer and she curates a fantastic gift guide. So we're just coming out with our Christmas gift guide just coming up.
And how often does that gift guide come out?
At the moment, we're doing, I think it's 3 a year.
Cool, yeah. And is that all digital? Is it online or is there a print version as well?
It's all online.
Nice.
It's free to apply. And Sarah's been inundated with amazing work for the Christmas one, so watch this space.
So the next guide is out. So where can people find the gift guide? Should they look on your website or is that
basically
social media?
we announce it on Twitter, so watch this space.
Nice, okay. And so if the campaign's ideal audience is the consumer rather than designer makers, because obviously I'm aware that a lot of the people that started following you and were early adopters of the campaign were actually the crafters and designer makers and those people, but the message is really about changing, I would think, like changing buying habits for the consumer audience, right? No. So how do you think you're reaching them?
Well, the basic idea is that the artists and designers are the conduits of this. They express how incredibly important the sales are, and they talk to their customers, because every artist and designer on social media has their following are people that are interested in their work. So they're telling their customers regularly how valuable it is that people support them, which is a brilliant way, that if we can say it on their behalf, we can tell their customers how much they value your support. So that's one way. The other way that we've done it is we're selling these Benedict Cumberbatch Christmas cards this Christmas, and the idea is that we'll get a lot of press for that out of the maker community, and that was one of the reasons that we did this, so that we could reach a much bigger, wider audience with all the people buying the cards.
Yeah. So the people that are already following Benedict Cumberbatch and wanted to buy into a bit of sort of his charitable work,
involved.
I guess.
Also, we are getting some national press from it, because obviously people are drawn to Benedict Cumberbatch's card, and that means we've got a number of things lined up, and that can talk about the campaign, which is brilliant.
Yeah, that's great, because I actually put it in the brochure as well, as you've seen, for Winter Open Studios.
Fantastic.
So I understand the plan for the campaign is to really kind of grow it, and some exciting news coming up. So are you able to talk about that just yet?
Well, there is indeed some extremely exciting news coming up, but we are not quite ready to announce it just yet. Okay. So what I would say to people is go on our Twitter, go on our Instagram, follow us, and also sign up to our newsletter, because we'll be telling you some very exciting updates which are going to change the face of the campaign, we hope.
Okay, so now you've said that, you better tell us what your Twitter handle is and your Instagram handle.
Fantastic. Right, so Instagram, it's just @justacard. Twitter is @justacard1. And obviously we use Facebook as well, but we use my personal Facebook only because when I started this, I started it very much from my own personal Facebook, and we've got loads and loads of people engaging with that page. So you can follow my personal Facebook, which is Sarah Hamilton Prints, and also you can sign up to our mailing list from website, which is justacard.org.
Cool, great, thank you. So what do you think the campaign will look like in a year's time? Because obviously it'll be, 3 years old now. So what does your year 4 look like for you, do you think?
Well, year 4 is looking extremely exciting.
So you've got some big plans for the campaign in the year ahead, but I know you can't really talk about that. So how much time, so I just wanted to actually go back a little bit, actually, in talking about how you started the campaign and everything. But how much time did you put into it, and how much are you able to sort of take your foot off the pedal on it now?
Well, as the campaign grows, there is a lot of work to do, but it's obviously changed more. I'm doing a lot less just in telling people about the campaign, because a lot people know about it. What I'm doing much more now is making collaborations with people, meeting up with people, doing much more press, doing much more promotion, doing much more collaboration with magazines and press and galleries. So it's the nature of where we're going is changed in a very positive way, but it is evolving, and it's much more me making decisions with the team about how we expand it, and new ideas all the time.
So that's really exciting, just seeing that grow and actually sort of take on a life of its own, and isn't it? It is sort of reaching newer and different people all the time.
It is really exciting, and I can't believe how often I go to shows and I just start to tell people about the campaign, and now they just say, "Oh my gosh, yes, I know all about it. I'm a massive supporter." You know very well, Geeta, in the work that you do with Camberwell Arts and as a promoter, that it's very important that people understand how valued the buying public are to the artists and designers that visit the open studios. It's interesting to me. I've watched you work in the gallery, run the gallery, which is at Awesome Ager for years. You're incredibly brilliant with the buying customers, and I think you very, very much understand the aesthetic of
campaigns like Just a Card are really important because they do. I think when you're working in an environment where you are customer facing, whether it's in the gallery or at fairs or. As you know, I do the production for Open Studios, and that's supporting a lot of artists who are opening their studios, and whether they be at home or they are in, disused factories where they've, made studio spaces. They open those spaces so that they can meet the public directly. It means they're able to take their sales without commission, for example. But it is really important because it does make such a difference to their having a sustainable creative practice.
Absolutely.
And I think that educating the buyer, which is, one of the reasons we've got a nice write-up for the campaign, because rather than just sort of saying to people, oh, come and buy local and come and support your creative, economy, it's actually really nice to be able to be part of a bigger campaign, and really so people can recognise when they're going between studios and shops and galleries, they recognise, what that message is.
Absolutely. This is exactly it. And I think you've hit the nail on the head, really. It's about... I genuinely believe lots of people do want to support artists. They sometimes feel intimidated, they feel nervous about. And I think the whole message of the campaign is to make people appreciate that artists really do value them.
No, I agree. I mean, we're, with some of the work that I'm doing as under the Open Studios with Camberwell Arts is actually getting these artists to send out more email lists and, really sort of use the branding on their social media and things as well, because it just connects them up to bigger things, which means that, people are going to sort of recognise, the branding for it, whether it's Just a Card or Camberwell Arts, but it's part of a bigger organisation, which it's not just some artist in a back room that is, working away by themselves.
So I'm interested to know, do you think artists are good at promoting themselves?
I don't think there's a blanket sort of, I can't speak for all artists. There's definitely those that are trying, and I really like working with those people. There are a lot of people that are shy. I think sometimes the issue can be around the fact that they're both the maker and then the promoter. But, I've said this for a long time, that an artist needs to understand that they're the agent and the advocate. They're the best advocate of their work, right?
Absolutely.
That's why Open Studios work so well. That's why when they do artist fairs, it's so much better. But, so many artists, I think, are hanging in there thinking, oh, I'll just get gallery representation. And then they think they can sit back and expect a retainer or something.
Yeah.
And it's just not realistic.
They need to realise that actually working with the galleries, you and I work together a lot at Awesome Ager, and we doing things together, collaborating with the gallery, helping the gallery promote your work, helping people, bringing your own customers to the events is such an integral part of working with a gallery owner.
Yeah, it's definitely a partnership, isn't it, the way that we work together, for sure. But I think going back to artists, self-promoters, I don't think they're the best at it. I think there's a lot of scope for improvement. I think, but I do appreciate the ones that are trying, and that is really nice. So, I think that's going to be something we'll cover more in another episode of this podcast about what they could be doing. Maybe we could talk about, how best they could use Instagram or something. That might be quite fun.
It's so important for sales. Instagram and social media, I'm always asked, is social media important to artists? And it's impossible to express how vital it is.
I agree.
And I think people who hesitate at it do themselves, sadly, a great disservice, because it is the best promotion. It's totally free.
And I think that's one of the things that I find with artists, but I think a lot of people in different businesses as well, is that social media gets relegated to the bottom of their to-do list. It's like it's in the way rather than actually being the way.
Should we go on a mission? Should we go on a mission, Geeta? Get everybody to realise, put it to the top of the to-do list.
Yeah, I think there's definitely scope for us to talk about the various social media platforms and how best to use it, particularly for artists and creatives and designer makers. Because the other thing, of course, there is a lot of the time, the people that they're appealing to might actually just be the 5% as well. It's not always the general public, or like the same people that But I definitely think there's scope for us to have a podcast whole episode. Maybe we should do one about just promoting themselves on social media, how best to use the platforms, and really try and engage with both each other, but build their networks, build their audience, because really that is for the long term as well. And I think with artists, everybody, they do need to be agents of their own work, because even having a working with a gallery or getting a shop to stock your products, whatever you're making, candles or cushions or something, it's still going to be short term, given, over the length of your career. There's very few artists who have, or designer makers who are stocked in a department store, and that's still going on 20 years later.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like seasons, tastes, aesthetics, all of these things change.
Yeah.
So that artist still has to then take on the mantle and find, the next stockist or the next retailer or dealer to work with. So, it's social media really kind of lets them take a bit more ownership for the long game.
I think you hit the nail on the head, Geeta. Let's do it.
Yeah? Okay.
Watch this space, folks.
Okay. All right. So once more, why don't you tell people where they can find you, and then I'll tell them about my social media as well.
Okay, so as I said, we are Just a Card 1 on Twitter, we are at Just a Card on Instagram, and we are justacard.org on website.
Great. And you can follow me on Instagram at Also Major Art. That's ORSOMAJORART. And on Twitter is also at Also Major Art. And also my other account there is at empower_artists. And you can visit the website empoweringartist.academy to read up our latest blog posts and find sort of advice on self-promotion for artists, creatives and opportunities. And on our Facebook page, facebook.com/empoweringartist, that is where we post open calls, call-outs for grants, funding, and all these sort of places that you can apply to get more exposure and that sort of thing.
Fantastic.
Great. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Geeta. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.